Hello, how are you? This is Coach Crouch. This is your PowerPoint over weather and climate. Or it's a not too long of a PowerPoint. Please bear with me. I will try to take my face off the screen periodically, and I might blast it back up there just to keep you alert and into this presentation. What you're looking at right now is a radar shot of a large storm system moving about, working around this high ridge of pressure and flowing east-northeast across the United States of America. This is the stuff that we will talk about in our PowerPoint. Thank you. Some examples of extreme weather. Top left, you recognize that picture. That's a tornado with a lightning bolt next to it. Top right, a hurricane or typhoon if you're in the Asian Pacific area. Bottom left, a blizzard. Bottom right, severe drought. Like here at home in Wichita Falls. Some more examples of extreme weather. Top left, hail, good size hail. On the right, you got like a racquetball size hail. You can see it in comparison to that little quarter. And in the bottom left and right, these humongous dirt storms or dust storms. If you live in Lubbock and out west, you get to see these periodically. But it is a massive dust storm right there. These pictures show you mass flooding. Top left, top right. These are pictures taken in India, Pakistani area, South Asia. It's monsoon season, and that's what happens when they get these severe monsoon rains coming in, or the winds that bring the rains. Matter of fact, if you looked on the news lately, I think a few days ago, about 300 people had died in the Kashmir province between India and Pakistan due to these severe monsoons. It is a tragic situation sometimes, but it does exist. It does happen. 2 days ago. These pictures are also showing you results of heavy rains, flooding. You see these big landslides, this mud heading down the river, and this over here, this up to the pool in the backyard. You see the deck. A lot of it fell off the end over there. That's a big mudslide, landslide. That happened in the Kashmir area as well. A lot of people died from that. It's the loosening of the soil. It gives way, and look out below. If you did the Lace Mops worksheet in our stamp sheet, Chapter 1, which didn't really go, but it was a good worksheet. It goes a little bit better with Chapter 2. Then you should know this already. Factors that influence climate, Lace Mops for short. Number 1 is latitude, where you're at on the globe. The equator right in the middle, nice and warm, and as you go further north, further south, but depending on where you're at, that is the most important factor in affecting climate. The weather in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, compared to that of Toronto, Canada, is going to be different, way different. It's all based on the latitude of where they sit. Air mass is number 2. Continentality, how close you are to the ocean or how far you are to the ocean, and how the ocean, when the winds, affects your climate. Elevation, how high you are in the mountains or wherever. Mountain barriers, does it keep you from the barriers slow down the rains coming across? Do they hold in these cold fronts that sweep down from the north between the Rockies and throughout the Great Plains? Ocean currents, they're bringing warm, moist air off the water because these ocean currents. Pressure cells, storms. It's Lace Mops. Those are the factors that influence climate. Number 1, remember, is latitude. Scared you, didn't I? We also talked about this last week, the equator, the belt of the earth, cutting it in half, giving you the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay, cutting in half, giving you northern and southern hemisphere. Also the prime meridian that runs north to south. Okay, giving you east and west hemisphere, or eastern and western hemisphere. When we talk about latitude, there's three parts. There's the low, which is around the equator, the tropical area. The middle, which is right above. If we're working from the equator up and down, as you get past the tropical area, you get to the middle latitudes. And those are kind of a temperate, mild climate. And then when you get in the high latitudes, that puts you at the very top part of the Earth and the very bottom part of the Earth. And you're talking about, cold, polar type weather. Here is a kind of a diagram of warm ocean currents versus cold currents, and you can see how these currents tend to affect temperature along the coast here. A little chillier than California at times, kind of mild, I guess would be the better word. There's a cool ocean current coming down, and a warm current going up to the Gulf and up the East Coast kind of keeps that somewhat not hot, but warm for sure. Elevation, for every 1,000 foot of temperature, for every 1,000 foot or feet that you go up, the temperature falls about 3.5 degrees. So the higher you go, the colder it gets. The main components for determining climate zones, temperature, and precipitation. There's 12 climate zones. Okay, the temperature and precipitation are the main components for determining the climate zones. There's 12. Do not forget that. Move that down a little bit so you can see it. Here's a map, climate zones of the world. You can see there's 12 over here, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is marine west coast, and this is ice if you can't see it. The green, tropical wet. There's tropical dry, semi-arid. You can see we are, oh my goodness, went the wrong way. You can see we in Texas over here, kind of semi-arid to arid the further west you go, and then it gets into a little bit of that tropical dry. But that's the 12 climate zones. Here they are again listed. Tropical wet and dry, desert, semi-arid, Mediterranean, humid subtropical, marine west coast, humid continental, subarctic, the frozen tundra, highland, and the ice cap. Here's some picture illustrations of different climate zones. Obviously cold, northern part of the country, nice and wet and rainy. Here's a nice spring-like day over here, green, very moisturized, and here's a semi-arid desert type place. And here's the last slide of this particular PowerPoint with the melting of this particular ice berg here in the Arctic region. It's this, whether you're a true fan of global warming or not, or just a natural warming cycle of the Earth. This is a particular. All this picture is showing you is it's ice chunk fell off. No political agenda. Hey, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the slideshow. My goodness. Hope you enjoyed the slideshow. Let's start over. Less than 9 minutes. Factors that affect climate. Lace mops. Remember that. Remember lace mops. Remember the most important is the latitude on your climate. It's the most important. Where you're at on the globe, north and south, in relation to the equator, is the most important thing affecting your climate. Hope you like it. Take the quiz.